The courtroom was eerily silent. The gavel slammed down, its echo cutting through the tense air. Judge Thompson, a seasoned figure with a weathered face, glanced over at the 12-year-old girl sitting in the witness stand. Her name was Talia Johnson, and she had been through more than any child her age should ever experience. Her braids were neatly pulled back, but her hands trembled as they gripped the edges of the wooden stand. The camera zoomed in on her face, eyes wide, filled with both fear and the quiet resolve of someone who had no other choice but to speak the truth. "Miss Johnson," Judge Thompson said gently, his voice heavy with empathy, "you are under oath. You must tell us the truth. Do you understand?" Talia nodded, her breath shaky. "Yes, Your Honor." Her lawyer, a sharp woman in her 30s named Ms. Harris, stood by her side, her hand resting gently on Talia's shoulder. She had been a guiding force in this harrowing journey, but even she knew that what was coming next was something no child should have to face. "Your Honor," Ms. Harris said, turning to the judge, her voice calm but firm, "my client is incredibly brave for being here today. She has been through unimaginable pain, but she's here now, ready to speak the truth." The judge nodded, but his eyes softened as he glanced back at Talia. He could see the weight of the moment pressing down on her, but he also saw something else. Strength. The strength to face what had been buried for so long. Talia's heart raced. She had been carrying the secret for 2 years, ever since the night her mother, Denise Johnson, had died in their home. That night had been a blur of flashing lights, sirens, and the cold, emotionless face of Thomas Johnson, her stepfather, who had called the police, claiming her mother had died in an accident. But Talia knew better. She had seen the truth, felt the truth in her bones. Thomas had killed her mother. The silence in the courtroom grew louder. She could feel all eyes on her. The prosecutor, a man in his 40s, was leaning forward, watching her intently. Thomas's lawyer sat next to him, scribbling notes, but she could tell he was waiting for the bombshell to drop. And then there was Thomas, sitting at the defense table, a hollow expression on his face. His hands were clasped in front of him, hiding any sign of emotion, but Talia could see a glimmer of fear in his eyes. "Miss Johnson," the judge's voice cut through the tension, "are you sure of what you're about to say? The gravity of these accusations cannot be overstated. This is a life-changing statement. Are you certain?" Talia swallowed hard. This was it. The moment she had been waiting for. The truth that had been hidden for so long. Taking a deep breath, Talia finally spoke. "He killed her. My mom, Thomas, my stepdad. He did it." The words hung in the air like a storm ready to break. A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. The air felt thick, as if the entire world was holding its breath. The judge stared at her, his face unreadable. He leaned forward, a flicker of disbelief in his eyes. "Miss Johnson, I need to be sure. Are you absolutely certain of what you're saying? This is a serious accusation." Talia nodded, her voice breaking but firm. "I saw it. I know what happened. That night. I heard them arguing. I went to the door, and then I saw him. He... Her voice faltered for a moment, but she gathered herself. He hurt her. And then she was gone. The room fell silent. Her stepfather's lawyer shot up from his seat, immediately objecting, but the judge held up a hand, signaling him to calm down. "Miss Johnson," the judge said softly, "I know this is painful, but I need you to continue. What happened that night?" Talia's eyes burned with the memory, but she forced herself to speak. She had to, for her mother. "I didn't know what to do. I just ran. I ran out the back door. I didn't even know where I was going. I went to the neighbors, but when the police came, they didn't listen to me. They didn't believe me. They just thought I was a scared little girl." Her lawyer stood tall. "That's because she was a child, Your Honor, and that's why she's here now, to speak the truth that was ignored before. Talia locked eyes with her stepfather. He didn't flinch, but she could see it now, his composure slipping just slightly. His hands shook as he wiped his brow. For the first time, he looked vulnerable. It was the crack in his armor she'd been waiting for. 2 years ago, Talia had been just a little girl, unaware of the dark secrets her stepfather had kept hidden. She had loved him once. He was the man who gave her gifts, who played games with her, who helped her with her homework. He wasn't perfect, but he was family. But over time, things had changed. The arguments between her mother and Thomas had gotten louder, angrier. Talia would lie in bed at night, listening to the shouting, wondering if this would be the night it all came crashing down. She didn't understand what was happening. She just knew something wasn't right. The night of her mother's death, everything had escalated. Talia had heard the yelling again, this time louder than ever. She crept to the door, trying to see what was happening, but her stepfather had caught her, his face twisted in anger. "Go back to bed, Talia," he had snapped, but there was something cold and dangerous in his voice. Talia had done as she was told, but she couldn't sleep. The house felt wrong. She heard the sound of something crashing, followed by a loud thud. Her mother's scream echoed in her ears. She ran to the door again, this time pushing it open just enough to see. What she saw froze her blood. Her mother was lying on the ground, blood trickling from her mouth. Thomas stood over her, his back turned to Talia. He didn't notice her. Then he looked up, meeting her gaze. "Go," he had said, his voice cold and steady. "You didn't see anything." But Talia had seen it all. She had seen the truth, and she knew, with every fiber of her being, that she had to tell someone. The trial continued. Talia's testimony had set everything in motion. The defense tried to discredit her, to paint her as a confused child, but her words had cut through the lies. She stood firm, even when the pressure became unbearable. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for her mother, for the woman who had given everything to her, only to be taken away by the one man she trusted. She was fighting for justice. In the end, the truth could not be denied. The jury deliberated for hours, but when they returned, their verdict was clear. Thomas Johnson was guilty of murder. The courtroom erupted in noise, but Talia sat there, calm. She had done it. She had spoken her truth, and justice had been served. Her mother's death was no longer a shadow. It was a story of survival, of a young girl who found her voice, and, in doing so, found the strength to carry on. The judge looked at Talia one last time, his voice soft. "You've shown incredible courage today, Miss Johnson. Your mother would be proud." Talia nodded, her eyes full of tears, but her heart lighter than it had been in years. The truth had set her free.